What's up? Hey, welcome guys. We are back with the TSL podcast, and we're here in Honolulu, Hawaii. We're here for my brother's wedding, and you can actually see Maria there in the background somewhere. If you're watching this on YouTube, now if you're listening on iTunes, we've upped the production level of this. This is a huge deal for me to really focus on this podcast again because, to be honest, we got involved with the membership program, the Austin Men's Development website, which you guys got to be a part of. And it wasn't entertaining to me, but in the last 6 months, I've gotten so many emails of guys just saying like, hey, I came in through the podcast. It was just an awesome thing. Where is it? So easy to listen to, so easy to, just plug in my car. So we're back here, and this first episode in entering back is really important to me. I should probably talk about it more. It's about masculinity, and that's what this podcast is about. It's about being the best man you can be. And in being the best man you can be, there's a whole equation in that, and there's a pride to it. So how do we be a man that is a father? How do we be a man that's a sexual man? How do we be a man that likes to do guy stuff and can be proud of it? And a lot of times this world doesn't make that so easy. And a lot of times we get involved in this backlash of anger and pissed offness and judgment and hating on women, and that's not a part of it either. There's Esteban over there. What's up, dude? So let's get into this podcast. It was recorded on a TSL Online Call in early December, so just a few weeks ago, and it's a really good one. And hey, thank you so much for listening, and we will talk to you guys soon. If you want to get involved, what you got to do right now is follow the links in the description to go to the Austin Men's Development Board. It's free. It's on Facebook, and it's one of the coolest things you'll ever be involved with. So let's get into this call, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks so much for listening. There's so much that I get, especially just being involved with the 21 convention, which is taking this like red pill dimension. If you're not familiar with what that is, we'll get to it. And I am not necessarily that. And then there's being in the pickup industry, being in the seduction industry, and just overall talking to men about sex or life or what it means to be a man. You get so much targeting from feminism telling you what's right and wrong about this. And here is the thing. It's all stupid. It's all bullshit. Anytime when you're wrapped up about your sexuality, thinking it's better than somebody else's sex, or how your sex and what you were born with or what your beliefs are imposed on someone else and they need to be like changed in all these different ways, man, that's where you're fucking up. That's where we create all the problems. That's where everything goes wrong. Socializing and connecting with people is one of the best things that we can do, and we love. It's amazing when you make a friend, when you connect with somebody, when you're sharing time with somebody, whether that's a sexual relationship, whether that's an intimate relationship with somebody, or whether you're just having coffee with somebody. When we build up these causes, these needs to define other people, these categorizations that are on the surface of everybody's life, they're not their childhood memory, they're not their passion, they're not their beliefs that are deepest within them, they're not what you're going to be having a relationship with, they're not the part of them that's going to be saying, I love you, they're not the part of them or you or whatever that is going to be making the fundamental decisions in your life, yet we treat them like they are. And they start to seep into that shit. Do you really think like that because you were wronged by a woman? So I'm speaking to you, and I talk to men. I give man advice. I don't give women advice. I just don't. I mean, I think there are men that could do that. I'm not one of them, definitely. But if you as a man think that for some reason you were so wronged by a woman, that you were so like shit on or fucked over, or you got lied to, or you got cheated on, or whatever it is, that gives you the right now to define every single woman, man, you're wrong. You can be angry. You can be pissed off. You can be judgmental. You can be hateful, but you have to realize that will pass. And you also have to realize that any sort of emotional decision or any sort of even logical decision that somehow categorizes a group of people, pay attention to that, people. So anything that you think is like so genius and brilliant that categorizes a subgroup of people or just a sex, man, and you think that you're going to hold on to that thought for the rest of your life, man, you're wrong. That's going to change. That's going to be challenged. And that's one of the dumbest things that you can do and one of the worst things you can do. And it's one of the most dangerous things that you could put out into the things that you care about in your life. Man, let me tell you this. I love having conversations with people. Some of my best friends are people that are feminists. When they don't talk to me because of what I do or what I say on these videos, they're fucking stupid, because we have a relationship. We have something that connects us in some political cause about what I think about, God, men could do this or that or whatever. Men should be proud of being a man, offends them so much to the point where they have to take away the personal experience they had with me. That is a horrible, horrible way of thinking. And I see men doing that more and more. More and more. And I fucking hate it, man. Blame does nothing for people. Now, I want to touch base on this because we were talking about it in why it can be so attractive and appealing. I mean, and I was actually emailing somebody. They said they were emailing me about somebody's Facebook post about being so angry about women, being so angry and pissed off and judgmental about women. They were like, man, it's such a change in that person's normal demeanor. And I said, look, let me just put some things into perspective. When you were 14 and you had your first girlfriend, or whenever it was, maybe you were 9, 10, 15, maybe you were late bloomer and it was 20. You were 14 and you had your first girlfriend, and that girl dumped you and then went out with your best friend or whatever it was. You hated them. You swore them off and you fucking thought that sucked. What you're hearing from people who are putting out all this hate is somebody who had that experience much later in life. And this is specific towards that situation. When they were an adult male. That isn't everybody who's spewing out hate, but there's some sort of bullshit reason attached to it. And I'm like, that's why, this person's doing it. The only problem is he's much older, has a bigger audience, and a lot of people are listening. But when you were 14, you got to fuck up, right? You got to make those mistakes. And you made an ass out of yourself, you embarrassed yourself or whatever, or maybe you were empowered by it. Maybe you did get a bunch of yes men towards it. But after a while, let's say this was when you were 14, when you're 20, it starts to take on a different shape. When you're 21, 22, 23, 24, and life unfolds itself and you start to get more of an open mind about it. And maybe you have a closed mind about a lot of stuff, but you have an open mind more towards that, hey, human relationships have a lot more into them than a political belief or, where you work or whatever bullshit, like who you voted for and all this other crap. Man, human relationships share so goddamn much that we have just stripped away and forgot to look for and forgot to experience, that you evolve. You evolve as that person, man. And it's cool. That's the normal process of things. This person who this guy was talking about hasn't followed the normal process, and that's fine. He's got to go through it. But the other thing that I want to say is there's such an appeal to this men's rights movement, this red pill shit. And let me just stop right here, because all of that stuff that I see, I can't say all of it, but from what I see from it and the people that I know that are involved in it, man, they have some fucking problems. And you're doing the same things that feminists are doing. You're doing all the same things that are just fucked up. You should shut the fuck up and realize that the sexes need each other to complete each other, and they don't need you to control it. That being said, one of the reasons why this exists is because it's so hard to be proud to be a man. It is so fucking hard to be proud to have anything masculine that's projected out into the world these days. Think about this. And as men, this is the real message. You have to be able to know when to shut that off, when to use it, and gain some wisdom and choice out of it, rather than just spit it out everywhere and force it to be accepted, because that's not right either. Once again, saying one sex is right and the other one's wrong, or there's some sort of dominance or some order and thing that takes away choice from the person who's in front of you, that robs you of that personal experience of the shit that really matters, that connection, man, that is wrong. But we have made it so impossible to be a man that talks about sex, to be a man that talks about how good it is to have sex, how great it may feel to be with many women, or to talk to a girl, or to see a girl that's hot, or to say that she has attractive body parts, or that what it would be like to have sex with her. We are robbed of being able to say, man, I want to fight. I want to fuck something up. I want to see aggression. I want to wrestle. I want to, beat somebody down. I want to fuck somebody up, and all these other things, right? How our lifestyle is. If you're a hunter, if you're a biker, if you drive a fast car, all these things are looked at by a certain part of society that it's this social programming that we can't get away from. Man, here's the fucking thing. I get it. I get it that society, has its influence over people. But here's the thing which I've gotten from my short 39 years of life. Dudes like those things. And there's a part of them that likes certain stuff about fighting, about talking shit, about being uncouth, about talking about sex, about talking about, man, eating meat and eating a lot of stuff. And you cannot do those things. That's fine. But for a moment, you may want to talk about it. When you force somebody or make it so it is so impossible to say those things, or you don't have an environment where you can say those things, guess what happens? They break out. All right. And I'm not saying that everybody's going to become a rapist, a murderer, or fuck things up. But man, I think that those things are directly linked to it. The suppression of man, the force of nature in you that is masculinity. When you repress those things, they will be broken out. But they're going to come out in smaller ways. They're going to come out in these ways where you think you're doing the right thing. You suppress yourself. You don't talk about why you're angry. You don't talk about why you want to go do something physical and just use your body. You don't talk about why you want to fuck somebody just to fuck them, even though you can be a great man and love somebody, even though you might be a man that doesn't want to get physical all the time, even though you might be a man that doesn't want to do the things that you're drawn to, man, God, be a part of or want to assert yourself in some ways. When you don't do that, it comes out in all these other ways. And all of a sudden, years go by, and you're miserable and you don't know why. You're miserable and you don't know why. You take a chance, you get fucked in some way because life is going to fuck you in all sorts of ways. And that's how we learn our wisdom of how to deal with stuff. And you start blaming people. You start blaming. Fuck, man. This is because I was repressed. This is because when I was 20 years old, I liked this girl and I thought the right thing to do because my mom always told me this, or because women are my best friend and I listened to them and I lost my chance and I became a pussy and I'm a pussy because somebody else's fault is there, and fuck them and fuck the world. And now I'm going to go join this Reddit forum and talk to a bunch of guys who jerk off to a computer screen and talk and assert their fucking masculinity, their opinion, their voice, who they are on a fucking keyboard, thinking that they actually have gotten some point of wisdom, man, when really all you had to do was step outside of the house. Step outside of the house and be yourself in front of somebody. That didn't mean you had to suppress somebody, put them down, take away their femininity to be a man, or assert your masculinity in a way that forced somebody to listen. See, the beauty is this world that we live around is always expressing itself. Not on probably you think you're watching this on social media or on YouTube or whatever the fuck it is. But there's an opportunity out there. It's an opportunity outside where you can express yourself. And the coolest thing is when you express yourself and you're being you and you're not, putting on some mask and faking it or some bullshit, and somebody recognizes you, and that person's everything you're supposed to hate in a person. Maybe they're whatever it is, Muslim, or they're a Christian, or they're a Jehovah's Witness, and they're giving you one of those watchtower things that happened to me today. And it's everything that you're supposed to disagree with. Maybe it's some girl that has some feminism sticker on her car, but she doesn't know yet that you're a misogynist or a bad dude or whatever the fuck you're supposed to be. And you have and she hears your expression. That person hears your expression and recognizes you for you. That feels good. See, the problem in this whole thing is that we've robbed ourselves from being ourselves. And in order for us to do that, because we've been the ones that have dropped the ball. Sure, somebody told us about it, but we've been the ones that dropped up the ball, not let us be ourselves. That we let that piss us off over and over and over again, years down the road. And now we think we have a voice shouting out a cause that is really a big mask, a big armoring about why we didn't get to be ourselves. Man, there's such a pride in being a man, just like there's such a pride in being a woman. And if we get that about the men's dialogue, the men's movement, or whatever the fuck you want to call it, but how men talk, that's how I talk to my groups, how my groups talk to me, because that shit happens a lot, man. But if we forget that that's just a dialogue about asserting who we are as men in a closed group, where we can talk whatever shit and sort through it and be a better person. Man, if we forget that, we miss the mark. And I think the men's rights movement, the red pill fucking bullshit, is a great example of how that mark has been missed. And especially like the extremist feminism shit, how that mark has been missed. Man, women need an outlet to be women, to learn all the unique things that I don't fucking understand. I don't know like why you would want to have a goddess group and do the weird shit you do and talk about the moon and whatever and all those things. I just don't understand it, right? And if you're a guy that understands, that's totally cool. But like guys need a group where they can go, man, fuck that shit. Fuck, man, I hate being fucking married. My wife is a fucking bitch and all this sort of stuff. Or, man, I got dumped by this girl, blah, 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 blah. Let's have some pizza. Let's drink some beer. Let's watch some sports. Let's do this stuff, which society has said is like this man thing that is just like dumb and repressive and caveman. Like, you got to do that, man. You have to fucking do that. And the people that don't understand it, you don't need to understand it. Just let that happen, because that's where the pride comes out. I'll tell you this, man. From my life, the best stuff, the fucking best lessons, this guy told me, he's like, you know, Steve, you know why you're having such a problem at these conventions? This guy who works a lot of conventions like me, is because when you see a real man and you see a man that is faking it, God, it sucks. And when you're on that path, or when you are that real man, it's disgusting to be around those people. It's just like shitty. And that's what I see, man. There's a bunch of fucking, there always has been. There's a bunch of posers and, you know, guys that I would never listen to with anything in their, any advice they're given, that are speaking on those stages. And that guy also told me, in the context of this being able to talk shit, of being able to say, fuck it, man, I'm pissed off. I can't believe she fucking said this. I want to fucking, Jesus Christ, man. Why are we put in this prison of da-da-da-da? You know, like, why are relationships so complicated, da-da-da-da? And he said, look, man, the high road is the high road because it's hard to walk on. And few people do it because it is that high road. But we as men need to learn how to be wise with that. We need to accept the reality of what we are and what we express and what we think and what we feel, and never suppress that, but be able to come to terms with it, talk about it with people that can understand it, whether they're going through it, whether they're about to go through it, or they've passed on to the other side, and learn wisdom and choice within that. And we need to support and cultivate that man. And he was like, that's why I love picking up this call with you, because I was in a point of trouble. He's like, that's why I love it, because you represent to me a guy walking on that road, and that's all we got to do. And that's what the community is, man. There's a beauty in being who you are. And for me, part of that is being a man, but a bigger part of that is knowing that I have to be me into this world, that I can't control what's around me. I'm always going to get something different. And how can I project and assert myself within that without repression? And when I do get repressed, and when I do fuck up, when I do get lost, man, here's the best part about it. I can always come back and find a way, to make things work. You don't always have to commit to your mistakes. In any case, that's all I got. Thanks for listening. Okay, so that was it. Hope you enjoyed it, guys. I want to build an interaction with all of this, as you've always known. And, look, spread the word about the podcast, spread it over iTunes, spread it over YouTube. But the most important thing you can do is go to the Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Austin Men's Development. I know that's a long link. There's a link in the description where you can follow that. And that's the best way to interact with myself and my literally hundreds of alumni that are just evolved men and just doing awesome stuff. You don't have to live in Austin to be a part of it. Yeah, we'll see you there. It's early. I'll talk to you guys soon. Ciao.